Elsewhere in the world, from Europe to South America, the right is rising, and we are seeing a new breed of leader emerge. These leaders are an antidote to the lily-livered, identity politics obsessed, virtue signalling socialist types the media adores. You know, the likes of Justin Trudeau and Jacinda Ardern. This new breed of right-wing leaders are conviction politicians who unashamedly pursue an agenda that sees them maligned by the establishment. But despite the hysteria and doomsday predictions, they have proved to be enormously effective and popular. This week we saw Argentina's Javier Milei, who media outlets have described as far-right, ultra-conservative and the Argentinian Trump, as if that's a bad thing, and El Salvador's Nayib Bukele, variously described as far-right and authoritarian, give firebrand speeches at the 79th United Nations General Assembly. El Salvador's wildly popular president, who was re-elected earlier this year with more than 80% of the vote, addressed the UN with some pointed remarks for the Biden administration about regimes that prosecute and seek to imprison their political opponents. President Bukele, who has copped heavy criticism from the Western media for his hardline approach to crime reduction, was unapologetic about the policies that have seen a dramatic drop in the country's homicide rate. He said in El Salvador, the safety of law-abiding citizens is a higher priority than the comfort of criminals. He said, some say that we have imprisoned thousands, but the reality is that we have freed millions. In a single year, the measures he employed saw the homicide rate fall 70%. El Salvador has gone from being one of the most dangerous places on earth to being one of the safest countries. Argentina's President Javier Milei, who has achieved remarkable results in a short period of time, also addressed the UN and slammed the organisation for going from one that pursued peace to an organisation that imposes an ideological agenda on its members. Referring to the UN's support of COVID-era lockdowns, he said he was guilty of being one of the most main proponents of systematic violations of freedom. He also slammed the UN for allowing despot nations to sit on its Human Rights Council and lecture democracies like Israel. Milei had this to say about the collectivism and neo-Marxist agenda of the UN. He said, "I'd like to issue a warning here. We are coming to the end of a cycle. Collectivism, moral posturing and the woke agenda is coming up against reality." Also in New York this week was Italy's Giorgia Meloni, who you'll remember the Australian media labelled a fascist, extremist and far-right. She also spoke at the UN, and while in New York, she received the prestigious Global Citizens Award from the Atlantic Council. Far from being the destructive force we were warned, she's actually been enormously successful so far. She has tackled the illegal immigration crisis in her country, and her tough approach has seen a 64% drop in the country's illegal immigration numbers. She's been so successful that Britain's hard-left Labor Prime Minister Keir Starmer went to Rome earlier this month to see how she does it. Let's listen to a little of what Meloni had to say this week upon receiving her prestigious honour. She spoke of Western civilization and why it's more important than ever to protect its values.
I know that we should not be ashamed to use and defend words and concepts like nation and patriotism. The West is more than a physical place. By the word West, we do not simply define countries by specific geographical location, but as a civilization built over the centuries with the genius and sacrifices of many. The West is a system of values in which the person is central, men and women are equal and free, and therefore the systems are democratic, life is sacred, the state is secular, and based on the rule of law. I ask and wonder to myself and to you, are these values of which we should be ashamed of?
No, we shouldn't be ashamed, but that is what is happening throughout the West. The left's assault is coming from within, seeking to demonise Western civilization.
But to the authoritarian funds, let me say very clearly that we will stand for our values. We will do that. Our freedom and our values and the pride we feel for them are the weapons our adversaries fear the most. So we can't give up the strength of our own identity, for that would be the best gift we can make to authoritarian regimes. So at the end of the day, patriotism is the best response to declinism.
Hear, hear. Patriotism is the best response, but it's maligned in the media, in the culture, and certainly in academia. Standing up for Western values in your country instead of being endlessly ashamed of it is the way forward.